Hey, let's talk about that third retirement planning mistake.
The third retirement planning mistake is underestimating the skyrocketing cost of healthcare in retirement. According to MarketWatch, a healthy 65-year-old couple is projected to spend $662,000 in healthcare expenses in retirement. That's unbelievable, isn't it? But that's not the worst news. Healthcare expenses are expected to rise at a rate of 5.9% per year. So that $662,000 figure is going to go up every single year. And thanks to modern medicine, we're living a lot longer than ever before. And the longer you live, the more expenses you'll incur, and that's because longevity has a snowballing effect on your expenses. Unfortunately, most people underestimate, though, the cost of healthcare in retirement, and this is because people think, oh, I have Medicare, and Medicare pays for all my medical expenses in retirement, right? Actually, that's wrong. Medicare will pay for some of your medical expenses in retirement, but not all of them. You will still have to come out of pocket for a handful of expenses, and it can add up quickly.
Matt, does Medicare cover long-term care?
This is an important question because it's hard to think about needing long-term care when you're healthy. But the statistics aren't in your favor. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reported that the average 65-year-old has a 70% chance of needing some form of long-term care. That's 70%. And the reason I bring this up is long-term care doesn't come cheap. The latest estimations are saying that the average cost of a nursing home is about $108,000 a year. A semi-private room would be $95,000, and if you could get them to come to your house, it's about $62,000 a year. Here's something else to consider, though, that's really important, is most people will retire around 61 to 62, but Medicare doesn't kick in until you're 65. So you have to come up with coverage, and you will have to have a plan to be able to pay out of pocket until your 65th birthday.
Yeah, this is so daunting, all of this. And if you don't have a plan, it's easy to see how the cost of health care and long-term care could take a big chunk out of someone's nest egg. So let's talk about that fourth retirement planning mistake people tend to make.
Michael, the fourth mistake is having too much investment risk. Unfortunately, we see people make this mistake all the time. Investment risk isn't one of those things people usually think about in a retirement plan, but it's one of the most underrated yet important effective pillars of a retirement plan. Having a diversified investment portfolio that mirrors your appetite for risk could be the single most important thing to help protect your nest egg during a sudden downturn in the stock market or a bear market. Because remember, the closer you are to retirement, the less risk you should be taking because you don't have the runway or the time you used to have to recover from any major financial setbacks. Our team gets the opportunity to visit with hundreds of families every year. And when we have that first meeting with new prospective clients, over 90% of them are taking far more investment risk than they know or than they need to at this stage of the game. So when we talk about investment risk, the possibility of losing even $1, the client tells us one thing, but their portfolio sometimes says something entirely different. And that's not good. You see, when you have a wild swing in the stock market like we've had the last couple of years, your investments can become skewed, so you could unknowingly be invested too conservatively or too aggressively. And neither one of these things are a good scenario. One of my favorite quotes from Warren Buffett is, "It's insane to risk what you already have in order to obtain what you don't need." In other words, if you already have enough, why would you keep taking more risks than you need to? And this is one of the most important things to keep in mind when making decisions about your investments. So updating and rebalancing your portfolio isn't a one-time thing. It's something that should happen every 6 to 12 months or whenever there's a significant move with the stock market in either direction, or when you experience some kind of life-changing event. The last thing I'll add here is that you shouldn't oversimplify your asset allocation either. Don't follow some one-size-fits-all strategy that was invented decades ago, like the 60-40 rule or the 100 minus your age in stocks rule. A properly diversified portfolio is going to be a lot more than just a simple mix of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds in your portfolio, and it will likely totally be unique to your specific financial situation.
Matt, this makes so much sense. So what advice do you have for our viewers right here?
Given what's going on with the economy and the stock market, trying to grow your retirement savings today could come with a lot of risk. Most people typically don't think about this, but the fastest and safest way you could grow your retirement savings right now is by reducing your taxes in retirement. Why is that? Because less money you pay in taxes, the more money you'll have to spend on you and your family in retirement. That's why I put something together just for the viewers on the show today. Discover how you could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement with a free retirement tax savings analysis.
Matt, tell us how it works.
Absolutely. Once we get some basic information from you, we determine the tax saving strategies that are best suited for your specific situation. Then we sit down and share these strategies with you so you can see exactly how much money you could save in taxes. I'm not talking about some obvious deductions that might save you a few bucks here or there. The tax savings could be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in retirement. Taxes could play a critical role in retirement planning for this next wave of retirees. So take advantage of this opportunity to learn exactly how much money you could save.